throughout the nation and around the globe. From his heart to yours, it's Dearjames Live, bringing you intuitive insight, answers, and advice to your life questions.
Hello and welcome to Inspired Connections, where we share wisdom one conversation at a time. Today's featured guest is a beacon of light in an otherwise chaotic world, teaching clients and loved ones how to tame and overcome the inner chaos in their lives. Wren Tolo R.N., also known as the Soul Connector, is an award-winning health and wellness educator, renowned speaker, and transformational life coach who empowers multitasking, success-minded women to take back their happiness, health, and personal power. As a former critical care nurse, and after experiencing life-threatening illnesses with 2 of her 4 sons, Jennifer developed her signature method, the ABCs of stress management. For over 18 years, she has helped clients connect with their inner voices and the wisdom of their souls to leave survival mode behind and reclaim power over their lives. Please welcome our featured guest and my dear friend, Wren Tolo. Jennifer!
Hello!
It's so good to see you.
Good to see you. I felt like I just had a Mrs. Doubtfire moment. I'm like, hello!
Well, we've come to the right place. Welcome, Olivia. We've come to the right place, and there's so much to cover. And so I just want to briefly start with where you started, where you began, because it's your 20-year anniversary with Butterfly Family Wellness. So just talk quickly about how you've evolved from that place 20 years ago to where you are today.
Yeah. 20 years. Wow. I'm far too young for that. But
it goes by in a blink of an eye, right? Yeah. What are you talking about? I'm 29.
Exactly. Well, I started Butterfly Family Wellness as a way to bridge the gaps between health and healing. And what I found is I was kind of just pivoting that medical model where I still had people coming to me like, fix me. I still had people coming to me with physical ailments that I was using different tools to work through. But what I really discovered along the way was the root of a lot of the illnesses that people, or the challenges that people were coming to see me about, was stress and a disconnect from themselves. So my business really started to evolve away from focusing on the families per se and focusing on children and kind of the diagnosed illnesses. And I started to work mainly with women because I realized women were really at the heart of the families and women were really at the heart of society because, and it's that feminine power.
Right. You're the caregivers, right? I mean, you literally are the caregivers in the home, in society, in that sense. No offense, men.
No, but as the caregiver, many of us are not caring for ourselves. So I really started to pivot and focus on talks. Plus, a lot of the people that I serve are busy. They like wear this badge of busyness. So I realized I had to come up with sort of quick, digestible things for them to utilize that was realistic to a busy woman's life. And so that's where the evolution from Butterfly Family Wellness to Wren Tolo started to happen, because I started to write books, I started to write articles, I started to speak more, and I started to create more online courses. So I still have Butterfly Family Wellness as the foundation of it all. But I am really focusing as me, Wren Tolo, working with other women.
And there's a beauty in that, because to your own story and your journey of 20 years, the time is now for the divine feminine, the Aquarian era, the matriarchal era, and this really coming up and out with your voices. And then, to your point, focusing your business on women, the family, their crucial role in it, and how when we don't take care of ourselves, if we're not putting our oxygen mask on first, how are we taking care of others? And that goes to the heart of what you do.
Yes. And I have to add too, one of the reasons why I shifted away from the word wellness is because I was finding a lot of people were thinking of me as a spa or a place to go to be healed or to get
Right.
well. And that place, as we know, James, is inside
Is
ourselves.
within us.
So, right. So I took the word wellness kind of from this Jennifer Wren Tolo because it's really my empowerment journey, helping to empower other women on their empowerment journey.
Exactly, which is a beauty in and of itself. Welcome, Alicia. Just wanted to bring this in. Well, let's speak about Jennifer Wren Tolo. Reclaim your power. Speak to why this is really it is part of your signature coaching, the title of it and everything. But we'll get to that later. But just reclaim your power. What does that mean to you, and how are you incorporating that with clients?
Yeah. Well, a big part is of reclaim your power. I used to call it taming the chaos. But the power part is because I really am all about personal empowerment. And what I was finding is so many of us, now not just women, but of course that's who I'm speaking to, but so many people give their power away to other people, to other things,
Yes.
and they don't even realize it. And so my whole purpose and passion is helping people identify those areas where they're giving their power away and then start to reclaim their power over their life, because so many people are kind of drifting through this life feeling like things are being done to them, things are happening to them, like they don't have choices, like this is the way it should be, but it's not. And so that's when that's really the heart of everything I do, is helping people identify those areas and those situations where they may be giving their power away, and then identify ways that they can reclaim their power over their life.
Mm.
And
so holding a mirror up, if you will, so that you see,
absolutely.
so that individuals can see what's unconsciously being done. You bring it into the fore, you bring it to the fore, to the consciousness, so you can identify it. And then, of course, rectify it. It goes to your quote. It goes to one of your greatest power is your voice and your choices.
Yes.
So in reclaiming your power, when you work with Jennifer, your greatest power is your voice and your choices. And that's what you're speaking to, is this whole aspect of where are we on autopilot? Or what are the masks, the stories, the labels, the identities, these truths that we tell ourselves?
Yeah.
And we're not even cognizant of the fact that we're telling ourselves that story.
Right. And you know what? A lot of people have these expectations that they put on themselves or they perceive others to be putting on them. And they're not true. And so a lot of our doing and a lot of this autopilot is following someone else's system, or what we think others expect of us, or what society has conditioned us to believe we should expect of ourselves. And when we do that, we sort of disconnect, we quiet our voice, and we feel disempowered because we feel like we don't have choices. Like our path is already made for us, but we don't realize that we are the co-creator of our life. We're not a passive. We can choose to be passive in it, but we don't have to choose to be passive.
Exactly. And, again, there's something, it's bringing, for the women in our lives, the mothers and so forth, and there's a built-in, I'm going to say, burden and opportunity that, in essence, to what you're just speaking to, is like that the mother, the care provider, says, oh, well, I have to give over myself to my children, to my family, to my household, to this, and in that, you get lost. And so here's this reclaim your power. There's, to your point, there's this beautiful opportunity that says both can exist, both should exist, may exist.
Yes.
And to your point, are you conscious of the choices you're making? Are you exercising your live or Memorex? Are you on autopilot, or are you active, present, conscious of the choices you're making?
And that's it. That's a big part of what I do, is helping people become more present in their life, because when you're on autopilot, you're not connected to what you're doing. You're just kind of going through the motions. I see it with self-care where people are like, I'm doing all the things. I'm checking all the boxes. I have self-care. I've downloaded this course. I meditate. I do this. But they're only going through the motions. They're not really present and intentional in any of the stuff that they're doing. So that's another piece to it is, and a lot of what I do, which to be fair, is not the most comfortable thing for somebody who wants to avoid that kind of work, but it is the transformational work when you look in the mirror, when you have somebody holding the mirror to you and gently guiding you through the process of awareness, self-awareness, and then self-regulation, self-care, but from an intentional, present perspective.
And there's an important piece of, you were just saying, like, checked it off the list. Well, see, there's a profound difference between checking something off the list, it's a task, I did it, versus genuinely, authentically being of it, one with it.
Right.
Like, I meditate because I'm not checking it off the list. I meditate because it's integrated. It's a part of my self-care. Yeah. And that's, you're a mother of 4 boys. Craziness. I mean, so this aspect of letting go, of saying, you must wait, step back.
Boundaries. Right.
Talk to us about, because, so go ahead, sorry.
No, I was going to say, most women that come to see me don't have boundaries, or they have very blurry boundaries. They might think they're setting a boundary, but that boundary is ever changing because of perceived expectations, because of guilt, because of wanting to prove or be something to other people. So the people pleasing, the perfection, all of that plays a role in the lack of boundaries. So many women say, they work and they have trouble leaving work behind because they have demands. So, and that's the thing is, many of the women that I work with are trying to be successful in multiple different aspects of their life, but feeling like they're failing at all of them. But it's because they're not really cognizant of, when I'm at work, I'm giving 100% of my attention and time to work. But when I am home, I'm giving 100% of my time and attention, to my home. Or like the balance of it all, and that's the thing is realistic expectations. There might be times that I'm killing it at work, but something's got to go at home. So that's, the letting go piece, or there might be stuff that's happening. Like for me, for a while there, I had to let go the work piece because my family needed my time and attention. And so I had to, and I wasn't feeling successful in my work showing up as Butterfly Family Wellness because, at the time I didn't feel successful as a mom. But to be honest with you, now on the other side of those challenges, I look and I go, that is success where my children are and how we were all able to come through this process. That's the success. That's the fulfillment. Right.
And there's a piece, an aspect of this, Jen, that also talks about the fact that when we integrate and involve our children, our spouse, our significant other, as this reclaiming your power, speaking to the women, that it's important to invite them in and include them so that they see, this is a healthy, balanced, harmonic unit. This, because if, again, to your point, if the women, if are solely telling themselves these stories, these truths, these, identities, and, that I have to do it on my own, and I have to do all of it, and I have to do 1,000%, not 100%. And if all of that is playing, well, just as a wheel grinding down, you get ground down.
Exhausted. Yeah, it's exhausting. That's where the burnout happens. That was me. And I can't ask for help because if I ask for help, I am not capable, weak,
right.
Not enough.
All these stories, right, that we tell ourselves.
Right.
Versus,
and it's not true. And understanding I'm overloaded right now, so I need to pull back on this is a beautiful self-awareness that you're right, to your point, models behavior to your children, shows your children that you don't have to. I mean, I literally had this conversation with my oldest the other day. He was saying to me, talking about he's working now. He's a young adult. He's working, and he's like showing up for all these people. And he's like, but I can't leave this job, because if I leave this job, then I'm going to disappoint this person, and they're counting me. And I finally looked at him and I said exactly what a girlfriend said to me: "You're not that important. The world will go on if you do what you need to do for you."
Right.
There's
Make
no
choices
judgment
for
in
you.
that. Right.
Right.
And the people that are going to judge that or have a problem with that, it's because you're holding a mirror up to them. But that has nothing to do
Absolutely.
with you. Yeah.
Because there's empowerment in recognizing that when you make choices for yourself from a place of humility, grace, empowerment, not hubris, not, vengeance or anything like that. When you do it from the pure place, the intention is pure, life continues. Everything happens. People see it. They respect it. There may be disappointment or melancholy or whatever.
Of course.
However, people evolve. We continue to grow. There's evolution. Well, let's bring in, because you talk about 5, and I love this, the soul survivor types, and you have a free quiz on your website, jenniferwrentolo.com. So talk to us about what are the 5 types, the soul survivor types. What are the 5 types?
I'm just pulling it up because I know I'm going to screw up one of them. Yeah, because I created this, and basically it was inspired from, I don't know if any of your listeners have ever heard of the Enneagram. But the Enneagram, there are 9 different types, personality types. And I'm always interested in some of these quizzes and these things that help you understand yourself a little bit more. And for me, a big part of my program is identifying those subtle subconscious belief systems that drive our choices and our thoughts that are established from childhood. So the soul survival type is looking at early experiences, looking at basically your life and the circumstances around your life. And I'm going to tell you, they were inspired by my 4 children. And a bonus. And a bonus, right? And no, I'm just kidding. But they look at your survival mechanisms from a child based on your life experiences, the things in your life where you got attention, because many of us are driven by our ego mind, and many of us don't realize how that ego mind sometimes pulls us away from our soul aligned path because we are in survival mode, and we don't have to be in survival mode. So this soul survival type quiz is helping people identify those habits and patterns that were established from a place of survival, to feel important, to feel relevant, to stay safe, right? And so the 5 survival types are server, shadow, the shiner. Survival type 1 is the shiner. Survival type 2 is the server. Survival type 3 is the shadow. Survival type 4 is the crusader. And survival type 5 is the martyr. That.
There's a lot. That one, the martyr.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of people that have more than one survival type, but there's one predominant one. And I created this just as a fun way for people to play. You can take the quiz for free on my website, and it's a fun way. And once you get your response back, and it's based on how many you respond, to, which the number, the more frequent numbers. And then it gives you sort of this is a little bit about you, kind of like, you ever read the horoscopes or the things that people say, it's like, this is about you.
Characteristic traits.
Exactly. These are your characteristic traits. Here are your strengths, and here are the challenges. So it creates this awareness piece, which is the foundation of everything I do, is to create that self-awareness piece where you can go, oh, okay, I'm doing this and I'm making these choices because that's my survival type. Like, I am a server, right? I am survival type 2. I'm a server. But when I recognize that I'm doing that, but the challenge to that is I get burned out and I don't show up for myself and I get overwhelmed, then I can go, okay, my instinct is to be a server because that's who I am, but I need to serve myself in this as well. So there's the boundary. And
there's the reclaim, right?
Yes.
Reclaim your power, the boundaries,
exactly.
and so these are really speaking to these 5 soul survivor types. I mean, they're very, as you say, putting a mirror up, self-reflective. And it's important for everybody listening to see them and let that in.
Yeah.
And don't quadruple down on, I'm a server, or I'm a shiner, because, well, then we're just saying it's kind of like, there was a colleague at one point that said, this is all in my astrological chart, so it explains everything. And that was kind of the end of the story. And I'm like, no. This is where we begin. This is the snapshot. This is, and all of these energies are present there for us.
Right.
So that we face them, look at them, hone and polish, refine.
Right.
So this is a great thing to go to Jennifer's website, jenniferwrentolo.com, and take the free Soul Survivor type quiz and see what it presents. And be open with it. Be receptive to it so that you see what's happening.
Right. It's to your point.
No,
it's not your identity. It's an aspect of your personality that was created from your survival instinct. Right. From childhood. And it's when you're aware of it, you can identify the choices that you are making based on that. And if it's serving you, great. But if you're finding that it's not serving you, you can use this tool as a way to bring a little bit more balance into your life.
You can become cognizant of the fact that you're doing it. Right. You can become cognizant and aware and then make more informed choices, your voice and your choices. It's like making those informed, because those are realizations. I mean, I've had one of those where I recognized the goalpost kept moving. And I just had this epiphany of like, it won't matter. It doesn't matter what I do.
Mm-hmm.
The goalpost keeps moving, but I'm a part of that goalpost moving.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to face myself and say, no more. Stop.
Yeah.
You're done.
Right.
Finito. Finish. Stop. And that was profoundly empowering and enriching.
Mm-hmm.
But you had to face your own truth, this characteristic trait that's within you, to say, no, there's a better way to do this.
I call it radical self-awareness. When you know who you are and you own every aspect of who you are, but you also know who you are not. Like I just had this conversation with one of my sons where he was like, he's short. This is my son that had leukemia. He's short for a male, right? And it bothers him. And he was talking about how people always are making comments on it. And, whenever there's talking about short people, they always look to him. And I said, well, here's the thing, dude. You're short. You got to own it. Like it is what it is.
Own it.
And when you own it, you reclaim your power over it. Nobody can tell you you're short and hurt your feelings or make you feel small. When you own it and you're like, yeah, you're right. I am smart.
Absolutely.
I am short, and I'm short. And I always say, like, could you imagine me in like a 6-foot package? I'd be so intimidating.
Well, and there's a beauty to your point, there's a beauty in him reclaiming his power. And of course, once he does that, it transmutes it all. But it's also even going further. It's like the soul chose this package.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that he is, the soul chose. Yeah. So
he's got buyer's remorse right now, but
well, but this is like body dysmorphia and why am I this, not that. I mean, we all deal with it.
Man is looking for a relationship, and
but you know what I'm saying. But the beauty in it is, once you connect with your soul and you say, okay, well, why? Okay, soul, because it's purposeful, it's beneficial. It's to teach us something or to transcend something or, to your point, to own it. Yeah. Yes, I'm short and I'm mighty. Hear me roar. And not in an aggressive way, but in a empowered way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he is a Leo. So.
Well, the roar part came right through. There's that into it. Thank you, Unseen.
Yeah, right.
Well, let's look. Let's go to the experience. The experience when you work with Jennifer is empowered, soul-aligned living. What does that mean?
So again, it's I meet you wherever you are. So wherever you find yourself on a journey, and I call it, I love to say, like, I've got a lot of toe dippers in my life, and I call them, like, kind of imagine this beautiful mystical pond and this waterfall and this scene that's enchanting and draws you in, but you're a little wary because, let's face it, life, our ego, tries to keep us safe, and we're constantly kind of scanning for threats. We all have been down the path where we have people selling us something, and we've maybe bought something, and that something didn't really serve us or align with us. So, we all are skeptical when we're starting maybe a relationship, especially a healing journey with somebody. But I like to say, I love to invite people in and to just observe. And if that observation means dipping your toes in the pond or standing on the edge of that beautiful pond by maybe doing some of my freebies, like I've got a free ebook that's, it's called 5 Steps to Shift Your Negative Mindset So You Can Thrive. So maybe starting there, or starting with the quiz, or starting with my Power of Now masterclass. Those are all free things. And then I have sort of lower buy-in things like my Power of You ebook, my Simple Awakenings podcast. There are different ways that you can kind of start to explore and understand and maybe gain some tips and tools from me without having to really commit and dive in. But when you are ready, and so I always say that people dip their toes in the pond for a little bit, and I'm
Get
not
acquainted,
going anywhere.
feel it.
No, yeah, feel it. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not pushing you into anything, because I truly believe that when you're ready for me, you are ready for me. And so I meet you where you are. So if you come to me and you want to work with me, yeah.
It's the transformational journey with you. Wherever you are, I meet you there.
Right.
It's a beautiful.
And pretty much everything I do in the beginning, whether you're dipping your toes in the water or you're diving straight into, I just launched my Permission to Pause course that's about resetting your nervous system and reclaiming your power over worry and fear. But wherever you are on this journey with me, the tools that I provide you and the work that I do is helping you with that self-awareness piece, and then helping you with the self-regulation piece, because those are the foundational pieces before you can move on to setting boundaries, to self-compassion, to to self-trust, which is a big part of the journey. The end game for me is trust yourself more, understand yourself and trust your soul wisdom to guide you more. But before you can get there, you really need that self-awareness and self-regulation package, which is from the minute you kind of walk into my little grotto to, when you immerse yourself under that beautiful sacred healing waterfall with me. That's
when you graduate, when you up level.
Yeah, when you graduate. Exactly. And that's the thing. My whole goal is not to have somebody be a lifelong client of mine. Although, I have people that come back to me all the time and check in with me all the time. But my goal is to empower you on this journey so you trust yourself to know what you need, instead of coming to me to fix you, right?
Right.
Nothing.
We talk about that.
There's nothing to be fixed. Yeah.
We talk about that a lot, that in my practice and everything with clients, it's the same thing. This is all for you to listen, hone your skills, polish your stone, connect with your soul source connection.
Yeah.
Come back for tune-ups, check-ins, and so forth.
Yes,
but ultimately, to empower you to connect to your soul source connection, to your divine essence and guides.
Yeah.
Because that's where the power is. This is also triggering something that I'm aware of. So when you do this work, and it's highly self-reflective, it's empowering, it's incredible. However, the point is that it's because, so in essence, they're coming to you because you're meeting them where they are, and they find themselves that these are the conscious or unconscious stories, truths,
Right.
Identities and so forth. And you're holding, to your point, gently holding up these mirrors of self-reflection so that they can see themselves better. The soul survivor, what type are you, this type of thing. Yeah. The moral of the story here is to not to forget that this change, as much as it will be for the woman, for the client that you're working with, it also changes the family dynamic, the relationship dynamic. And so your spouse, your children, your other loved ones, your coworkers, because of course, as you know, Jen, right? We're all used to this Jennifer Wren Tolo. Well, what happens when this Jennifer Wren Tolo faces herself and says, I can't carry all this anymore. I can't do all of this anymore. And so I'm going to put my oxygen mask on. I'm going to transform myself. My only point is for everyone listening is to have that conversation with your spouse, with your loved ones, with your children, and say, this is what I'm doing. Now, I can tell you from experience, those individuals, they don't like it so much.
No, it is. It's
because
hard.
Nobody likes change.
Right. But here's the thing. When you do this work, this transformational work, and I have, hundreds of clients that will tell you this, but myself, I've done this work. And when you do this work, you go from reacting and snapping at your kids to being more present with your kids. So your connection with your kids is deeper. Your kids feel seen and heard. Your spouse, your connection to your loved one or your spouse or your partner is deeper because you're more present and you're less reactive. Your connection to the work that you're doing becomes deeper and more purposeful and more joyful and inspired because you are more connected with yourself and the intention behind what you're doing, because you're saying yes to the things that light you up and you're saying no to the things that drain you. So this is the work that when you do this work for yourself, it ripples out and you start to create change. And, one of the big things that I do that's different, I think, than a lot of people that are wellness coaches or do the empowerment coaching thing is I have the medical knowledge. So a lot of times people come to me because they do have some physical ailment, whether they're not sleeping, whether they're, having digestive issues, whether they're having mental, migraines or depression or anxiety or whatever it is. A lot of times they walk through my door because they can't take it anymore, right? But one of the big things that I do is I feel like I am and this is where the soul connector piece comes in, I am a translator. So I help translate the subtle messages of your mind, your body, and your soul. But while I'm translating that, I am helping you learn to speak the language. So you start translating and understanding what those subtle whispers, because they don't scream. When they scream, that's when you're way out of balance, right? So I help you translate and listen to those subtle whispers of the mind, the body, and the soul, so you can start finding that balance, because we're all going to get out of balance. That's what happens in life. But when you notice it sooner than later, that's when you can kind of right the ship and get back into balance and go, oh, this is what's going on here. Okay, this is telling me I need this. Like feelings, emotions, they're all information. So what information are they sharing with us? Yes.
Right. And, important in this work to recognize, it's the journey, not the destination. And that was my point about bringing up. So what you're articulating is the benefit that is derived from doing these works.
Yes.
With your spouse, your children, your family, your coworkers, and so forth. It's just the point that it's a journey, and they are going to witness or bear witness to a completely evolving, changing you. Yes. Because in that doing the works that we're talking about with Jennifer that she does and everything, there is this transformational journey. And many times people don't want change. And yet when that loved one says, I'm changing, the woman stands up, says, here's my voice. Here's my choices. sends a shock ripple, right? Because all of a sudden it's like, hang on a second, what's going on? And it's like, and the message is, you too, whoever it is in these individuals' lives, you too have the opportunity to take the journey with them.
Yes.
To be proactive and supportive in the journey, to recognize the need for the journey, for the change. Because to your point, Jennifer, when you're graduating under the waterfall and everything, it's like everybody has borne witness, has been a part, has walked, you know, and it may be something that it inspires the men or the children or whatever to do these works.
I mean, I can honestly say, right, my husband has, and my children, my boys, they've all kind of come up because of this work and watching me, and because I do walk my walk and talk my talk, they've been exposed to all of this, and it's slowly like they're starting to get this. I mean, when my son had his own spiritual crisis, he turned to me and was like, "Mom, help me through this." You know, and again, I was talking to him earlier, but he wasn't ready to receive it. And same thing, you know, with my husband. He has seen a profound change in his own life just from kind of following my lead, if you will.
Right, bearing witness.
And that's the thing. And I will say, James, you know, as far as soul contracts go, and you know, different relationships that we have, I have worked with people, with women that were recognizing, because as they were doing this work, they were realizing they were getting farther and farther away from their spouse, or that they were realizing that this
can happen.
Response, right? And so that was another meeting them in that where they are, like guiding them through navigating that scenario. As far as, do I leave my husband? Do I not leave my husband? Where do we go from here? I've also had people that have been in the midst of a divorce, but yet their ex-spouse is still holding on to so much power over them. And so working through that is a big one. And how do you reclaim your power from that, and from the life you thought you were going to have to the life you actually have? So, you know, that's all, wherever you are, that's where we're starting. That's where we're going.
That's where you meet. That's the transformational journey. It's where it begins. And it's also that thing of, you know, we are either, it doesn't matter the relationship, friendship, you know, coworkers, you know, marital. The point is, you know, we're either growing together or growing apart. Exactly. And it comes down to a simple, fundamental choice. Do I choose to evolve with and grow with and journey with and walk with, or am I rooted, fixed, don't want it, you know, stubborn? Because at some point, I always say, you know, when the bell rings, you can't unring the bell.
No. Yeah.
And there's this beauty that, to your point, when the clients that you're working with, they come to you, the bell's been rung. No matter where they are, the bell's been rung. There's something that's brought them to your door.
Exactly.
And they're saying to everyone, to themselves, I'm ready. And of course, the teacher appears, you know. And so it's a fundamental choice to all of the individuals in these individuals' lives that are going on this transformational journey and work. Be open. Be ready. Choose, if you care about the relationships and you care about things, because change is, you know, nobody likes it, and yet it's, you know, what do they say? Change, death, and taxes. Yeah. I mean, it's just the point of it. Well, let's go to, I want to get to your paused permission in, because this used to be called Stress SOS, which I just loved.
Yes.
And now you have a program, Permission to Pause. It's an online course. So just speak to that. You know, what is permission to pause?
Yes. Well, I was realizing that there were people coming to see me, you know, wanting to work with me. And where I truly feel like my one-on-one coaching and the energy work and the intuitive stuff that I do is beneficial is when that person is sort of at that readiness, they have that foundational self-awareness, and they're ready to look in the mirror. Well, when you're in a fight or flight, or you're in survival mode, you can't look in the mirror. You're still trying to stay safe. And when you're staying safe, your ego lies to you. And so you're not as open to that self-reflective piece. You're not as open to change as we just talked about. So what I realized was I wanted to create something for those women that were maybe not quite ready to work doing the intensive one-on-one stuff with me or the group coaching with me, that needed something to just help them get out of that fight or flight. These are women that are finding themselves having trouble relaxing, women that are finding themselves stuck on that worry train and caught in that what if scenario, focusing on the future. And I called it Stress SOS because these are people that are stressed and overwhelmed by stress in their life. And the SOS is getting help, getting support.
Right, getting help.
I was like, nobody's downloading this course. I wonder what's going on. And then I had an aha moment where I'm like, okay, would you have asked for help? Because my target audience is the old me, is me, right?
Right. I mean,
I wouldn't have asked for help, and I wouldn't have. And so many women that I know are wearing this mask of "I'm fine, it's fine, everything's fine, I'm not stressed," because they want this outward appearance of having their stuff together, even though inside they feel completely chaotic and frenzied, right?
So it's like Stress SOS is like the dirty little secret. I can't, if I download it, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, you know what they say in marketing? They were like, give them what they think they want, right? But actually deliver what they need, right? And so it is all about stress management. But I realized that these busy women who are stuck in that autopilot doing and spinning themselves in a frenzy because they don't have boundaries, because they are triggered by even things that they know they shouldn't be triggered by. They're in this overwhelm, headed towards burnout. Hello, I was there. I know what it looks like. You know, they're not sleeping. They're having trouble with their digestive system. Maybe they have migraine headaches. They have trouble focusing. They make mistakes often. They've got the brain fog. Oh, but they're not stressed. Those are all signs of stress, right? But they're not
perfectly fine. What are you talking about?
But I'm fine. It's fine. Everything's fine, right? Again, that was me. I even have a shirt that says that. But I realized what these women need is they need permission to just press the pause button so they can power down, so they can power back up. So I changed this course to Permission to Pause. And it really is talking about what is stress, how does it show up in our body, how does it impact our life, and then we talk about the different hidden stressors in our life that we don't even realize, which are, like we talked about, the expectations, the people pleasing, the perfection, the survival instincts, and then we start to slowly re-examine them. But it's really the main part of this course is to give you tools. There's a whole module with a whole bunch of tools to help you press the reset button, give pause, reset your nervous system, and connect to what is it that I need in this moment? What is the truth? And everything is 5 minutes or less. I also offer self-care strategies that are things that you practice that maybe are a little bit longer. But this is really, and I give you a whole bunch of tools, but you create your own toolbox. You take in what, and you decide, yep, this is for me. Nope, that doesn't resonate for me. And by the end of it, you have this toolbox to manage your stress. And everybody's got stress. No one can eliminate stress in your life. We can only learn to shift the way we perceive things to be stressful and shift the way that we manage that stress. So pressing the reset button, giving ourselves permission to pause. That's what this is all about. It's 6 modules plus a welcome, but 6 modules. It's I give you exercises or worksheets to practice what I teach. And then I give you a guided meditation and reflection journal where you can practice a lot of this stuff on an ongoing basis.
And 2 things. One is this whole aspect of, you know, when you said, you know, there's the tools and everything, and you can say, oh, I take these, you know, you curate your experience with this.
Yeah.
So it's to remember to add that this may not be for me right now.
Right.
Because again, as you start doing the works that Jennifer is offering and everything, there's this aspect of, well, it didn't resonate, or it wasn't something I was ready to face or accept or realize. So just add a right now disclaimer.
Right.
to it, because eventually, as you come along and you keep working with this, well, then you might come back around and go, I'm ready to invite this in, or investigate this, or experience this.
Right.
And the other thing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but while your clientele is predominantly female, speaking to the women, all of this is applicable to men.
I have male clients.
Right.
I definitely have male clients.
And,
hello, I have 4 boys.
It's just this point. It's to all the male listeners and everything. Yeah. While we are speaking to or focused on predominantly the women for this, it's all applicable to men, because men experience stress. Men experience the same, those stories and masks and labels and identities, and the same soul survivor types and everything. So this is really universal wisdom for everyone.
Yes.
And it's just to what degree are you open, ready? Where are you? She'll meet you where you are. Where are you? So permission to pause. Well, let's go to your signature coaching, because this is your big. It's 6 months, correct?
Yes, it's a 6-month program.
It's a 6-month program.
Yeah.
Reclaim your power. So signature coaching, reclaim your power. Yes. Go.
Yes. So I take people through my 6S system, which is, I mentioned a little bit of it. It's self-awareness. We really dive deep into self-awareness to start to develop and really strengthen that radical self-awareness. And then we focus on self-regulation strategies. So it's kind of permission to pause, but augmented even more, because my signature ABCs are a part of that. That's, awareness, balance the nervous system, connect to yourself and what you need. But then we have self-care. We talk about self-care and developing self-trust, starting to trust yourself more. Then we have setting boundaries. And then we have the self-reflection, and which is an ongoing process. So it's really this deep dive and focusing and enhancing. And again, I have, a system where we build it, but sometimes people come in and they're like, I'm pretty good with the self-regulation piece, or I'm pretty good with the self-awareness piece, or I have all these self-care tools. So stress management is one of them too. So it's self-awareness, self-regulation, stress management, self-care and self-trust, setting boundaries, and then self-reflection. And again,
and just notice really,
yeah.
And what's the key word in most of everything you said? Self. So for everyone listening,
yes,
it will always begin and end with you.
Yes. With
your ego, mind, personality, human, and your soul source connection, yourself.
Yes.
So again, where are you? Where are you? Jen will meet you where you are. And then her deep dive. So you can, as she said, you can stick your toe in the pond and, and look at the ebooks and the online things and the things that are free and so forth to kind of get your toe in the water and start feeling it. And then you can do this deep dive in her signature coaching, which is Reclaim Your Power, which I just love, because it's like, who doesn't want to reclaim their power? Even over or within themselves.
Right.
It doesn't have to be external. It can simply be that you're reclaiming your power of self.
Yeah, and it's reclaiming your power over your own health, your own happiness, your own time, your own energy. So, and your life. So reclaiming your power over all of those different aspects that people think, I don't have power over my time. I don't have power over my energy. I don't have power over my health. It just is, right? It's not. You can reclaim your power and become the co-creator that you were meant to be, co-creating with source.
That you are, right? That you are.
Yes, that you are. But many of us block ourselves from that aspect.
Right.
Yeah.
Because to your point, from childhood or, and not that, something's happened in your childhood, but there are things that are formative that occur when we're young. Then there's the societal type of things. There's so many things that we are generationally told. Money doesn't grow on trees, and, you can't do this. And you realize that all of these things that are in our generational experiences, we absorb. Like a sponge, we absorb them. To your point with the works that you do, it's then, okay, now let's identify what you may be unconscious of that is permeating and depleting your voice, your power,
right,
your choices.
Right. And the story, like we have stories, and you and I have talked about this even with myself. Like we have this story, but we're all on this hero's journey, and we have to go through things, whatever it is that we're going through, right? And those things are character developing. Those things are
they're
building
soul revealing.
Yes, they're honing us
Yes.
to be and do what our soul said that we would
greatest,
show up to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Our greatest self.
Yeah. But sometimes we get stuck in what's happening right now, or the overwhelm of what's happening right now.
Yes.
And we want to fast track to the outcome that we want. But sometimes what we think we want isn't really what we need. And so how many of you listeners have said, like, I literally have had people say, I never thought my life would be hard. Like, how many of you guys have said, like, this is not the life that I expected. This is not the life that I thought I would have. And maybe resist where you're being nudged to go, because you're clinging to this idea of what life was supposed to be, but you're missing your whole hero's journey.
The journey, right? You're missing the journey.
Yeah, you're missing it because you're following somebody else's path or somebody else's journey, or you're stuck. Right. Yeah.
And to your point, leapfrogging, it's that beautiful idiom, everywhere you go, there you are. So again, if you're not willing to do the works and to self-realize, to take self-accountability, responsibility, to do these work, and they're beautiful. It's not, everybody gets freaked out like, I don't want to do that. And you're like, no, but it's when you're most empowered. It's when it's just really great, because then everywhere you go, there you are. And it's a beautiful, transformational, evolved you.
Yep.
And that's worth it. That's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It's
being able to show up your best you as consistently as you can. That's what it's all about.
Indeed. It's really, well, let's go to you have your Simple Awakenings podcast, which you mentioned, Women Finding Clarity in Life's Chaos. Yeah. And so where is it available? It's on your website, I believe. Yes.
Yeah, it's on my website, but basically anywhere that you can find podcasts. I mean, Spotify,
it's available.
Apple. Yeah. I don't have it on YouTube. Some episodes are on YouTube, but mainly if you want to listen to the most current stuff, you can go to my website and check out the past episodes, or you can follow me on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And I try to be more consistent with it, but sometimes I'm not as consistent as podcast. Like I try to do weekly. I took a little break. But I really try to
permission to pause.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. But I really try to have, it's either myself talking about something that it's always inspired by real life. It's always inspired by either what's something going on in my life or somebody that I've come across that has really struck something in me. So, check it out. I'd love to have more listeners and followers.
Yes. Simple Awakenings podcast with Jennifer Wren Tolo. So, Jennifer, in this 20-year span, I mean, and really it's a lifetime span. And I kind of giggle inside because you saying, my husband and my 4 boys, like everyone bears witness to the force that is Jen. What are some of the, what are some of the highlights that you have, the takeaways over this, over this breadth of work that has been evolving and transforming. But in working with clients and everything, what are some of the juicy, wow, like where you just pinch yourself and say, I'm doing these works.
Yeah.
And then the flip side of, and the challenge, like what's one or two of the challenges that you say everyone faces that you would.
So the juicy stuff is that just lights me up is when I see, like I had one client that came to me and she was afraid all the time. And she, had all these rules for her life and played her life pretty small and wanted to try, had his longing to travel, longing for adventure, but didn't trust herself. Well, she just sent me pictures from Thailand, from traveling in Thailand. And she was in Africa not long ago. And she's sending me these pictures of these adventures. And to me, and always with a thank you, Jen, which just
Permission.
like lights me up, right? I have another one who was in this job for a long time that was really, she was giving her power away. She was driving herself to illness. She just sent me a text saying that she just resigned and she is now looking to start up her own company. But just like beautiful things like that. Another one who has been in remission. She has an autoimmune disease and she let me know, like, I haven't had any issues with that in so long. I can't thank you enough. So just little things that just from these little subtle changes that they're making in their life, nothing huge, just looking at their life differently, choosing differently, not attaching to those thoughts and giving themselves permission to pause and really focusing on self-care as the foundation of their health and their well-being, just to see this transformation. And I got to tell you, one of the real big things that the aha moments that always comes out is, and it's always the lovely mirror that life likes to show me in those moments where I'm looking to other people to tell me what to do or to give me the answers or to give me the outcome, get me faster to the outcome I want. That's where you give your power away. When you look to others to tell you what you need and what's right for you, that's where you give your power away. It's okay to look to others to guide you, but you are the discerning factor. You get to decide what is a yes for you and what's a no for you, what resonates, what doesn't resonate, what aligns and what doesn't align. That's power.
That is definitely reclaiming your power. And it's empowering. And it's what my dear friend Pam used to call teachable moments. It's a profound teachable moment because when you recognize that, and like you said, you take in information, yes. However, use your own discernment to then use your voice and your choices to claim what is yours. Because that's where real self-empowerment resides. Yeah. And again, there will be those in our lives that want us to do or don't like or this, that, or the other. Okay, but that's for them. We get to make the choices. Each of us gets to make our own individual choice. That's real empowerment. We're down to the last minute or two, so just anything that you see that is universal. Is there one thing that you would say is a universal, and you may have just spoken to it, but that's the thing that we still need to work on, face?
Well, one of the things, and I didn't touch on this, but this speaks to this part, is one of the challenges that I have as far as getting people to walk in my door and to come see me is fear. There's a lot of people that are afraid of change. They're afraid of doing the work. They're afraid of what I might say, what I might take away, whatever it is, fear. So many of us are letting the ego dominate all of our thoughts and all of our decision making. And that's where we need to recognize that if we want our life to change, if we want to show up differently in our life, if we want our life to be different, to feel different, and think about that. How do you want to feel? Feeling is that soul. It's not the ego. It's the soul. So many of us are thinking. We're not feeling. And we're not recognizing when we stop and we think about, how do I want to feel? And maybe that's, I want to feel more peaceful. I want to feel more confident. I want to feel more present. I want to feel more connected. That's me in my life. Well, in order to feel that way, you have to give yourself permission to transcend that ego, to let go a little bit, and to have the courage to open to the possibility that there is more.
And I will just, we'll close out with this and everything, that in essence, imagine that you are this beautiful, like, alabaster statue, and all of the years of, guck and grime and, the things from the ecosystem and all this stuff, right? So this fear where the ego is ruling the day, what you're doing by doing these works is you're getting back to, you're honing and polishing and scrubbing and doing all this to get back to the purity of who you are, the trueness of who you are, that innate soul you. And that will always be infinitely greater than the ego, mind, personality, human, right now currently driving the show or trying to keep you from doing or changing. Get to the purity of who you are. That, and purity means, God, your soul source connection. I mean, come on. It's as good as it gets. There's nothing greater than that version of you. And
it takes courage to just take one step outside of your comfort zone. Just take a step. A lot of people get overwhelmed because they're looking at the destination. But if you focus on just that one step at a time, even if it's a baby step, take it.
Yeah,
that's how you move forward. Yes.
Well, here we are. I'm just going to bring this up. We have our featured guest is Jennifer Wren Tolo at jenniferwrentolo.com. If you'd like to work with her, dip your toe in the pond, take advantage of her ebooks or courses, and some of the things are free and so forth, by all means, please do. And thank you all so much for joining us on this journey of inspired connections and the conversations where we share wisdom one conversation at a time. Jennifer, it is always so lovely to see you and so lovely to see what you're doing in the world and how you're shaking it up and just, facing the chaos and helping others overcome it.
Thank you. Thanks, James. Thanks, everybody.
We'll see you in the next episode of Inspired Connections.
You've been listening to Dearjames Live. Gain intuitive insight, answers, and advice to your life questions and so much more by tuning in next week and visiting Dearjames.com.